So this is what happened to the 9th generation, created by one of YouTube's greatest up-and-coming creators. I'm really excited to see this video.
We've designed the most consistently powerful next generation console. And we built state-of-the-art platform technology to allow every developer to realize their full vision.
Didn't really happen, did it?
Where are the games at?
Where are the games?
Where are the games?
It's dry. Where are the games?
I kind of keep waiting for them to do their thing.
I don't see anything.
These are easily the most pointless upgrades I've ever experienced.
What is the point of buying a console if you can
Lord
just make
Voldemort.
a PC?
If you're gonna have everything on PC, why not just buy a PC and abandon the console?
Where are the games? Where are the deadlines? Where are the projects? Where are the teases? Like, it feels weird that it's like,
Why buy consoles?
This is still true. These consoles feel like they're like, what are we doing? What are we doing? I'm on my PC 24/7. I have an Xbox Series X, PlayStation 4 right over yonder. I am really curious to see what the guy who made this video is going to say about this, because I confirm with this.
Now comes the fun part. We get to see how the development community takes advantage of that feature set.
Something's happening with video game consoles. They've changed from machines people couldn't wait to get their hands on to machines people couldn't wait to forget. And after weeks of digging, I boiled down every problem the 9th generation has down to 3.
Dude,
so let's break them down, starting with the most obvious of them all, the games.
What? Who is... Now hold on a second. He's wearing what I'm wearing. This man's a phony. Disgusting. Let's see what he has to say. Okay, the games. Talking about the games.
You see, every console generation is measured by one thing and one thing only. The games. The 360 had Halo 3, the PlayStation 3 had Uncharted, and the Wii had the Wii Sports Tennis game that broke all of our TVs.
Oh, jeez.
But unlike the previous generation,
real quick though, like on a serious note, if you broke your TV with the Wii remote, you need to stop playing games. You need to put the Wii remote down. You need to look yourself in the mirror, and you need to have a real chat with yourself, okay? Because that strap was not necessary. You got a problem. Okay, you got some sweaty hands, you need to change your diet. You got some sweaty hands, you need to change your diet, dude.
the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X technically have way more games than any other console in history. Every week.
You know what's super interesting about this? Chat, look at this. Look at this. This is something like not a lot of people can tell. This video is shot with an iPhone 15. It's shot with an iPhone 15 Pro. Okay, this is the first time I shot a full video with the iPhone 15 Pro. And what's interesting is when you shoot with an iPhone 15 Pro, the difference between using something like that and using a professional camera is you see like behind me, like right behind me, everything's a little bit blurred. That's called bokeh. And that's something a camera can do. And then the higher I increase my aperture, the lower I decrease my aperture, the more blurry this will get. Now, with the iPhone video that I did, that was not a thing. Everything was in clear focus. So if you see right here, to make this look a little bit more premium, look right here. You see that little line right there? You can see my monitor is extra crispy, and then you can see the blur. So what I've done is literally cropped myself out. And then I blurred the background just to make this look a little bit better. And I remember I told a few creators that I was like, yeah, I did this with an iPhone. They were like, what? You shot the entire video with an iPhone and it has 2 million views. I was like, yeah. They're like, how? But how? And I was just like, YOLO. I just wanted to make this video. I had to get it going. I didn't have the camera setup I needed. The camera kept dying. And nobody even, not one comment on this video ever even mentioned that, ever. So, you know, when people talk about like, oh, you need all this fancy equipment, I mean, straight up, it's just a camera, iPhone, and then I had like, this microphone is connected to this PC. You can see the USB is right here for this microphone. It's connected right into this thing. And this is the cheaper Shure MB7, I think, or whatever it's called. MV7, that's what it is. And so I'm using that, and right behind me, that's being recorded with Audacity. And so I'm doing that. It's It's just interesting how ghetto it is. I don't know if I'm doing the right way. I was just like, yeah, I just want to make this video.
Every week a new indie game releases. There's backwards compatibility for almost any game that you can think of. And if God forbid those older games didn't play well, well then there's a pretty good chance it's been completely remade. So then why does this generation feel like it has nothing? How does that make any sense? Well, the answer starts getting more clear when we look at every hit this generation's had so far.
Look at those, dude.
There's a problem.
When I came up with this concept, let me just straight up be honest with you guys. This clip right here, from like here to a little bit, yeah, you see, look at the giant bump. See in the video? This is clipped a lot. People really like this thing. And I think it's because I took what people were feeling and I made it make sense. Because there's a lot of people who say, it feels like these consoles have no games. Because it does feel that way. Now, literally, there are consoles, so that was the point of this scene. Let me show you all the games. There's games. There's plenty of them. I mean, look at here. This is just a snippet of them. But then I slowly tried to take back the games based off of what we would normally get, which is fully fledged new releases that add something to the console. Whereas these ones are just ports, remakes, and I was really happy how this came out because I thought it was like a really effective way of showcasing the problem.
Do you see it? Hold on, let me remove every game that was made primarily for the previous generation. Now let's remove every game that's considered a better playing experience on the PC. And last but not least, let's remove every remake or remaster of an existing game. The list is dramatically smaller, isn't it?
And look, if I'm being honest here, chat, if I'm being honest, hold on. Let me just move my... Let me just put this here. If I'm being honest, I'm forcefully put this to Xbox to give them something. I didn't want to just be... I didn't want the viewer to think I was playing sides. I mean, quite frankly, this game was probably sold more on PlayStation, if we're being honest. But I was like, bro, like, I can't make Xbox look that bad. I mean, it's pretty bad. But, like, these are just little things I was doing just to, like, make it somewhat, like... Because, man, it was hard to, like, make it seem fair. Because the reality is Xbox is really being destroyed left and right from sales perspective. And, like... These are kind of the little things because I don't want the console fanboy, like PlayStation versus Xbox, like you're cringe, you nasty. I don't want to hear that stuff. I just want to talk about the 9th generation because I own both. You see in the videos, I own both. So I don't care about that noise. I just want to talk about the problem. And it's little things I have to do because there's people out there like, oh, you see that? There's no Xbox there.
I mean, if these games tell us anything, it's that there's something in the water at Insomniac and we gotta protect them at all costs.
They love me.
But this generation's games are actually a bigger problem than you'd think when we compare them to the previous generations, specifically the Xbox 360, PS3, and Wii generation. For context, the 7th generation of consoles objectively had worse development tools, worse hardware to build games on, less people with skills to build them, and less documentation to learn from. I mean, these consoles released before social media was even a thing. Yet here's the games they released during the same amount of time as the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X.
There were so many games!
That's pretty wild, right?
Let's go, dude.
Every game was made solely for that generation of consoles without remakes, and you could forget about a PC port back then. I mean, that just wasn't a thing. Because during that time, Steam is...
There are a few comments. Let me address the elephant in the room. There were a few comments telling me that there were PC games back then. Buddy. No one was playing PC games except for Blizzard and Valve games. The rest just like didn't run that well over there. You just play it on a console. It was 1,000 times easier, 1,000 times cheaper, and the performance, like, it wasn't a thing as it is today. PC gaming back then was like a niche thing, unless you were just playing Counter-Strike, Warcraft 3, World of Warcraft. Like, pretty much those were the things. You're playing a Blizzard game, you're playing a Valve game. That's pretty much it. That's it, you know? No one was playing actual PC games back then. In 2007, buddy, relax.
Is just getting started. Blizzard makes like one game every decade, and Microsoft is pushing the insanely buggy games for Windows Live.
Oh, it was so bad, dude.
But look, these games technically aren't telling you the full story. While most of these games are critically acclaimed, it's what they did for the
You see this right here? This is so cool. Right here, these are NES carts. Behind every single game to hold them up is either an NES cart or an N64 cart if I was lucky and I had enough of them, because they're heavy enough to hold everything up so they didn't fall. And so here I am taking a camera with a gimbal, and I'm just like slowly going up and looking at all the games because I thought it'd be more cool than an animation. And animations take more time to do. So yeah, I'm taking all the games that I thought were really amazing from that generation and panning up, but right behind all of them are even more games, just holding them up. It's just a fun
industry
little fact.
That made the 7th generation so special. For example, Gears of War revolutionized third-person cover shooters, cooperative story, and the brown color palette that every game.
Oh man, it's so funny because I 1000% agree with everything I'm saying because clearly I said it. But right here, I have a what's it called? A dolly. I have a little dolly that my camera's on. But if you look right here, hold on. Once it gets to the end, look what happens to the camera when it gets to the end. You're going to see it just like jiggle.
Story and the brown color palette that every game used for a lot longer than they should have.
Because it just hit the dolly and it just like shook. I didn't do it as well as I thought. And it's these little things when you're a creator, you're like, bro, I want this to be perfect. And then you put it out in the world because you have to make concessions. And it's like nobody cares. And so it's like it's all in your head. It's so interesting. I'm so happy the way this video came out. And it's so true. Back then, everything was just brown. Every game, I don't know why.
Wii Sports revolutionized motion controls made accessible for a brand new casual audience. Technically, because of the Wii, anyone could play games now. Rest in peace to all the TVs out there.
Change your diet, dude.
And back then, Call of Duty actually revolutionized FPS controls, multiplayer progression, and 60 frames per second as a...
Not a lot of people give Call of Duty the credit there, like that they deserve. Because usually when you say like change first person dynamics on a console, people go... OGs will go GoldenEye, which is wrong because GoldenEye controls horribly. The real ones will say Halo CE because that's the right answer. Because when Halo came out to the console, what it did with the twin sticks is it made it so it basically effectively made auto aim a thing where it was like when you look on the AI that you're going to shoot, your reticle would turn red and it would slow everything down. It would create friction. Right? So then so it would make aiming easier. You could just you could flick your right stick and it would just it would hit the guy. And when it hit the guy, it would slow and create friction to slow down. And once it got past it, it would go back to its normal speed of sensitivity. That was huge. And Halo really set the bar there for two things. It was like the aiming, that's for sure. Okay, what I just explained. The second thing Halo added that was huge is back then, first person games effectively had like 10 weapons, right? You know, like the old Doom games, like all that stuff, you would literally, your player would have just 10 weapons. And so, and that worked fine on PC when you had 1, 2, 3, up to, 0 keys to cycle between all your weapons. But when you got on console, that became a lot to navigate with. So people would create radial wheels. People would do lots of crazy things to help it so you could choose the proper weapon you needed. When Halo came out, Halo was like, you get 2. That was such a huge design choice, and that rippled all over the first-person industry, first-person games in the video game industry. Like, that was huge. And Call of Duty clearly took that and then threw it on another level and said, now we're going to make it so you have ADS. And Halo did have ADS with a zoom-in mechanic on the right stick, but Call of Duty made it feel more natural and put it on the left stick, so you had to hold, and they added this new feature that I don't really think many people talk about because it's just normalized these days. But the idea is snapping. So when I hold the left trigger, it will snap to the closest person that I'm looking at. Like you can test this if you play Call of Duty and you're looking between a couple people, you can literally just spam the left trigger and it will snap to every single one. So you can do easy shots. Call of Duty brought that in, and that did the exact same thing that Halo did with like the 2 weapon swap on the Y button. Now everybody does the left trigger aim. Even Halo does it now. Like Halo literally does it. On top of that, Call of Duty brought in the multiplayer progression stuff. And 60 frames was a huge thing because yes, 60 frames was a thing before Call of Duty for sure on previous consoles, but it went away. specifically Halo bringing it down to 30. A lot of other games brought it to 30 because that was what they brought it to, and went away from 60 frames. Call of Duty brought it back and said 60 frames is like pretty important, and players kind of agreed. And Call of Duty 4 also added insane multiplayer progression, and I just don't think not enough love is given to specifically COD 4 for how much it changed video game industry. It's a huge game. It makes billions of dollars now, but make no mistake, Call of Duty 4 revolutionized video games, and some respect should be put on its name. Staple of competitive multiplayer.
50,000 people.
Also, that line is a banger.
Now it's a ghost town.
But what's more insane is that the publishers that absolutely dominated in the 7th generation have completely bombed in this generation.
Next generation gaming!
Warner Brothers was on top of the world with Batman and Shadow of Mordor, but then they release Suicide Squad, a game that nobody wanted.
How you feeling, Floyd? Ready to kick your ass?
Nobody. Ubisoft dominates with Assassin's Creed, but then launches their quadruple A game Skull and Bones to crickets. Like, that game came out 2 months ago and no one's talking about it. It's already probably half off. Activision revolutionized...
When I... Chat, another like behind the scenes fun fact.
Months ago and no one's talking about it. It's already probably half off.
When I scripted this, because it takes me a while to script and then record and then edit, okay? When I scripted this video, I put that in. It's probably half off. So the game, like, I had no idea. I didn't know. I didn't fact check it. And then when I got to the edit, weeks later, I had to go get the footage. And I checked, and it literally was. My mind, I was just like, Ubisoft has a real problem where they like release at a premium price and then they literally just stab all their first time buyers in the back by 2 weeks later making the game go half off. It is so disrespectful. I don't know how anyone buys Assassin's Creed or any of their games at launch. I just don't, because you know it's going to go on sale just a couple weeks later. And it's such a disrespectful thing to do to your audience. It's insane. But I just thought this was really funny that it actually worked. That's why I put that little subtitle, like it actually is lol. I was looling like you wouldn't believe.
Activision revolutionized multiplayer gaming with Call of Duty, a grounded military game, but now this is Call of Duty.
You could be the king, but watch the queen conquer.
Why is Nicki Minaj in Call of Duty? The war game.
Money!
Also, Microsoft, you know, the single biggest video game publisher in the world right now. Well, they launched Redfall completely broken, Starfield completely empty, Lionhead Studios completely fired, laid off 4 more companies during the making of this video.
You what?
And released 3 buggy, incomplete Halo games in a row.
People have forgotten what they did in Master Chief Collection. I will never forget that. The amount of hype in the air to play Halo 2 multiplayer again. The multiplayer that got me into online console gaming. The multiplayer that single-handedly made Xbox Live a thing. The multiplayer that was so good, it actually brought features into the Xbox 360's dashboard. A lot of that stuff came from Halo 2's interface. It is history. It's history. And what they did with Halo Master Chief Collection, I will never forget. Like, that just shows you Microsoft's priorities. Could things have changed? Could mistakes happen? Of course. But to let that happen with Halo 2, your Halo franchise, I mean, we've seen the way they've treated Halo. Absolutely disgusting. And it's been like almost 10 years. I will still put in clips about Halo MCC fumbling like that. It was absolutely messed up, and I will never, ever forget that. Never. You can make a brand new Halo CE reboot. I don't care, 343. Rename yourself. I know what you are. I know the type of man you are. Okay? You did this. You did it.
And they all hurt. Every single one of them hurt me.
See? Hurt me.
quite significantly. So here's the $1 million question, if not $1 billion. What the heck is happening with video games? Well, you see, the simple answer that gains a lot of social credit these days is making games is hard.
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 Now, using my...
I'll be honest, this got cut dramatically. This scene got cut dramatically. I get insanely triggered by some random journalist who's never programmed a day in their lives saying making games is hard. I'm not saying it's not hard, but you don't know. You're just talking. It's optics. Making games is hard. Sympathize with me. Buddy, you've never programmed a day in your life? Just don't say it. Just be honest. I've programmed for years. I understand. I haven't made a game, but you're not seeing me say it like I've never done it. So it's just so insanely cringe. I had to cut that down because it was getting hostile. I try to keep my videos like streamlined to the point and let's not attack anyone. And so I cut that out, but it really bothers me. That making games is hard scene was probably a minute, and I cut it down to 10 seconds. Making games is hard in the chat. You disgust me.
Personal experience in the software development field, I've been doing it for 10 years. I can't argue that the process is difficult.
Based take. Based.
But I can argue that these companies seem to have no idea what people actually want to play. And when we look at the games through that lens, we can start to see why we're getting so many remakes of games that were so successful before, so many live service Destiny or Fortnite clones, and why so many games are made for the previous generation with a higher install base first instead of the new consoles we spent $600 of our hard-earned Canadian money on. They weren't cheap, guys. Maybe we start building for them. Just throwing that out there. Now,
Sony was like, we hear you, Goose. We got Concord 2 coming up, dude. We got Concord 2, dude. Concord didn't work. That was our answer. We had a live service God of War game. Well, maybe we don't know what we're doing, dude. And then Microsoft was like, yo, we don't even have to make new games. We could just release them on every other platform. That'll work. I kid. I know they're making games. But also.
Might be because I love video games or because I'm Canadian and thus genetically predisposed to helping people come back stronger. That's that Zenkai in me, baby. So video game companies, here's some
Let's go Canada,
that
dude.
I'll give you free of charge. Ditch these consoles. No one thought the Xbox One was gonna make it 2 years, let alone 11. Just take it out back to the farm, make it look at the sunset, do what you need to do. We're all on the same page. No one's gonna be there and gonna be like,
no, please, no, not the Xbox One and PS4, no, I love them so much.
Bring them to the farm. You see, it's time to make...
Look, let's talk about that, dude. Cause that did get a little bit of flack, and I understand not everybody can afford that stuff, but look, when the PlayStation 2 came out, it was a huge cultural phenomenon, right? That Gen 6 was huge. Gen 6 was huge. PS2 was huge. Obviously did the DVD thing. It was huge. When PS3 came out, they didn't stop making PS2s. They didn't. In fact, the PS2, I think, went on to continue to be made until 2010. It was a long time. Maybe 2013. The PS2s have still been selling. And some people have still been making games. I want to say Madden has been, or at least FIFA, one of those two have been making PlayStation 2 ports of their games for the people who are still buying them on PS2. As of recently, this is not old. This is recently. So my point wasn't hey, kill these consoles and then no one gets to play them. My point was just dude, let's move on. Let's make the new things. And let's try to get people on the new stuff so we can have crazier experiences. Because if we're holding back with older consoles, we're not trying to push the envelope, which that was what was so fantastic with the PS3 and 360 and Wii era, because each of those consoles were so radical in their own separate ways, right? PlayStation 3 had the cell architecture. The Xbox 360 was really pushing these online services. And then the Wii, obviously, with the motion controls. There was no time to focus on the past. It was let's push forward with the future ideas and let's see what sticks. And what they did from that is create revolutionary products, right? We got Assassin's Creed. right? We got COD 4, we got Wii Sports, we got Mario Galaxy. We had so much new innovative stuff that came from there. We had Batman Arkham Asylum, we had Mass Effect, Fallout 3. There's so much stuff, Skyrim. So many things came from these new innovations, Gears of War. And I don't think you get that by constantly having to make sure that the back can still play the new stuff, you know? And that was my point. Let them go. Let them go. People will catch up if it's good enough, right? Like, I don't know what we're doing, because at some point, when do you let them go? If we're going to say we hold on to everything forever and we constantly support those consoles, like, when are we going to let them go? Like, we're going to get the PlayStation 6 and Xbox Series, you know, whatever name they're going to give it. They're going to give it a stupid name. But, like, are we going to still support the Xbox One and PS4? Like, when do we say no? Because that install base will be dramatically bigger. Just the idea of, like, buying new consoles, like, that's the biggest one. And you've supported it the longest. It will be the biggest. So what are we doing here? Something to think about. I'm not saying I have the right answer. It was just a different perspective.
Games that people actually want. We're talking a non-live service Batman game, an Assassin's Creed Black Flag 2, an actually good Halo game.
He's fun. I like him.
Or just look at what's popular in the mod scene and you'll get a hit. It's actually surprising how little companies do this.
It really is.
It worked for Dota, it worked for Team Fortress 2, it worked for Battle Royale, it worked for Counter-Strike, and all the gaming companies are like, we should make a Fortnite or a Destiny clone. Suicide Squad.
Hey, this guy's onto something. I like this guy. This guy's nice. He's got a good looking smile. He's a little too red. A little too much red for me. I'm not a big fan of red. The color red's, it's not my color. But I will say this. The mod scene is an underrated gem. I've been saying for multiple, like, you know, every Goose Morning Live, we pretty much talk about this at some point or another. The idea is video games cost too much today. Now you have two options when that is the problem. If video games cost too much, you got two basic options. You reduce the cost of video games, or you find out ways to make sure that the high-risk project you're working on will bang. So you either need guarantee or you need to reduce the cost. Those are your two options. Like, at the end of the day, those are the options. So what do? You go and see if that's possible. Can we reduce the cost? Now, in the AAA space, especially in North America, they're spending money left and right. $300 million for Spider-Man 2 literally makes no objective sense to me when the map is New York again. The Spider-Man is Spider-Man again. You know? And they made Miles Morales before that, so it's like they're constantly reusing assets. They are bumping them up. They're doing new stuff. But, like, let's be honest. It's not remaking a brand new game. Okay? It's just a new story, new characters, but it's like it's the same place. And we're okay with that. But $300 million makes no sense. Okay? Now, at the other end, gamers, people who play these games, like, the developers are not doing them any favors because they're not sharing transparent information to help us understand why this is $300 million. So let's say, point number one, we can't reduce the cost of games. Fine. Okay, sure. This means you have point two. You need to make sure that your game, okay, whatever, pick a game, Halo, Doom, Gears, Forza, it doesn't matter. Okay, Ghost of Tsushima, it doesn't matter. Your game needs to be guaranteed to win for $300 million. It needs to make more. Okay, let's say you want $1 billion. How could we guarantee your game, if we spend $300 million, how can we guarantee your game will make $1 billion? We need to guarantee that the idea is hot. People will go all over, they'll go crazy for Cuckoo Puffs for your game. Okay, perfect example. People loved Overwatch. It was an overnight sensation. Overwatch objectively was huge. People do not like Overwatch 2. Okay. Now, do people not like hero shooters, or people not like the direction hero shooters are today? Well, let's put that aside. Do people like Marvel? Objectively, there's like no Marvel games, and people love them all. Okay, they love these characters. It's easy win. Could we combine them and make our own and just make it like Overwatch 1, not Overwatch 2? Could we do that? Okay, that's an easy, like, the test is guaranteed to bang. And so Marvel Rivals comes out and is dominant. And to go back to the mod thing, this is where mods come in handy. if you have a mod that is so undeniably popular, given the bunch of obstacles in the way to make that mod popular, right? This isn't your average Joe Blow, going on the game, looking up mods, downloading the mod, installing the mod, playing the mod, right? This is a hardcore person. If you have a huge surplus of those type of people, that idea is hot. Dota and Warcraft 3, red hot. It was played forever. In fact, developers, if you go into Warcraft 3 and look at the game mods that are still being played to this day, DBZ Tribute, Kodo Tag, there's a lot. Line Tower Wars, there's a lot. They're so hot that they lasted past the game dying. They've kept the game alive. That's a game idea. Make that game. Just make it AAA. You've tested the waters in this. You've made your 300 million game more guaranteed to be profitable than had you just been like, I'm going to make Prince of Persia without the prince. Buddy, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? And then this same concept has been used timeless times. Valve's whole thesis is that. Like, that's where Counter-Strike came from. Like, all that stuff comes from that. Battle Royale, PUBG, there's an Arma 3 mod. I remember seeing Lyric on Twitch play Arma 3 Battle Royale before it was popular. And then you just slowly started seeing games copy it and make that into a real game. You got H1Z1, you had The Calling, obviously PUBG, and it just kept growing. And then Fortnite copied PUBG, and then boom, we have this thing. You can do these things. So rather than start off with your game costing $300 million, if you're saying that we can't reduce the cost, maybe you make all your games be compatible with mods and you make mods yourself. You make the mod for free. You just put in a team of devs, let them have like a free couple weeks or two. This would be so good from a dev culture perspective as someone who's worked in that place. People want two things in the workforce. They want autonomy, they want recognition. Autonomy meaning they get to do something they want to do. They get to provide value to the company the way they want to do it. They have their own vision. Number two, recognition. You recognize the work that they've done and you support them. Giving people autonomy is like a guaranteed way they're going to create something crazy. Do it in a mod sense, see how it does, see how it performs. Oh, it's exploding? Make a full game. Look, I'm just some guy who kind of looks like a Pokemon trainer, okay? I'm not this handsome individual right here. Quite frankly, this guy's got a lot of good stuff saying. Let's hear where he goes from here. Why?
Money!
But unfortunately, the lack of next generation games is just the first problem, because these consoles make playing games kind of difficult.
Dude, how is my timing that bad? How?
That still gets me, dude.
So let's say you get a brand new console. Here's a simple question for you. What should it do? It sounds simple enough, right? It should play video games, of course. But there's actually something else that I'm sure you'll remember after this. Now, if you didn't play the GameCube, then that just didn't work. But if you did, it's just one example of the magical experience a console can actually give players. And in every one of your favorite consoles, you'll find a similar experience when you play it for the first time. But what about the Xbox Series X? Oh, it's just an Xbox One, but I guess it's faster now. 600 Canadian dollars faster, I guess. And I guess my $600 wasn't enough to cover the ads either. Now, in fairness,
what is with that, chat? Why are there ads on my dashboard for the thing that I'm paying 600 Canadian dollars for, and I'm paying a subscription to Game Pass? I don't think it's as bad as it used to be, but why is that a thing? I'm so surprised that's not more because of money. Of course. I'm sorry I asked, but it's crazy they have the gall to do it. It's wild to me.
When you boot the PlayStation 5, Sony says, hold my beer.
Also, they don't do it on Windows or Mac.
I don't need it.
Oh yeah,
I don't need it.
Sony cooked, dude.
I don't need it.
God, that was was like every single PlayStation merged into one super PlayStation, and I loved every second of it. But look what happens when I pop in an extremely expensive 90 Canadian dollar next generation physical game from this incredibly sad and empty plastic box into each console. The game needs to install gigabytes of data or download larger and larger patches before you can even get a chance to play. So then you think to yourself, well, okay, I guess while I wait the mildly frustrating 30 minutes for this game to be ready, I could just, play one of the digital games that I already own. But then you find out that when you do that, the network speeds of your consoles are dragged into the frozen depths of HE double hockey sticks. So then you think, fine, okay, alright, I'll just play another game today and take the hit on the network speed so I can play the new 90 Canadian dollar next generation physical game from this empty plastic box tomorrow. But then the game that you decide to play also has a 60 gig update because of course it does. So at this point you're basically dead inside.
Bro,
but because you're
happens
desperate
so
to play
often.
anything during the 2 hours of time you have left before you have to go to sleep to your corporate soul-sucking 9-to-5 job, you decide to play the most depressing game of Russian roulette to see which of the games you own doesn't need a 200 gig update until you almost
This wasn't staged. I was just picking random games. It's just like, and by the way, Microsoft, I have the checkbox that says, keep my games updated. Buddy, it's checked. It's checked, dude. What's going on? Checkbox never works. The checkbox is the greatest lie in all of video games. I loathe it entirely. Also, look at the time I'm recording. 9:02 p.m. Chat, your boy never sleeps, dude. Your boy never sleeps.
assuredly give up and decide to watch someone else play games on YouTube or Twitch instead. And if that's your case, hello and welcome to the channel, okay?
Well, bonus points if you're watching this through a streamer farming content? What kind of disgusting individual would react over this video and farm content twice? What kind of disgusting, well-dressed, just straight up looking beautiful with a beautiful red hat individual would do something like that? The nerve. Disgusting. But for real though, if I could be 1000% real, seeing streamers react to this content and get to this point and then seeing their chat make fun of them and laugh is really, really fun. I don't really understand why YouTube creators don't like people reacting to their videos. I mean, I do get their perspective, but like I make these videos for people to enjoy. And so when I get to see, there's something really, really special. Like when I saw like Tim the Tatman react to my videos or Cross react to my videos, like it was something special just to see them like experience it and then also see their chat just, you know, just have fun with them. To me, it's really, really cool. And look, I don't know what this guy's going to say because I have a goldfish brain, so I forgot everything I said in this video. But this guy's a cool guy. This guy's a cool guy. I like him. Quite frankly, that was a nice little tongue-in-cheek there.
Now, at first glance, it seems like the console experience is objectively worse than those that came before. But if you're skeptical like I was, then don't worry because I decided to bust out my older consoles to put this to the test. So, for the Xbox Series X, I found my original Xbox from over 20 years ago. The idea is simple. On the original Xbox, I'm going to try to play Halo Combat Evolved, a 20-year-old game. Then on the Series X, I'll try to play Halo Infinite to see which console lets me play the game first.
It's so depressing. I want to talk about that for a second because there's a lot of people who got in. There was a few comments about like you should have tested Halo playing on the newer, more powerful machine and compared the speeds. You're missing the point. The point isn't, hey, will the old game run faster on the new machine with better tech? That's not the point. That's not the point whatsoever. Of course it will. The fact that you're asking me to test that, I need you to just take a walk. Take a long walk. You need it, okay? The point of this test which most people understood, but for the people who don't, the point of this test is to show you the experience. When I pop in this disc, I'm going to play the game. That's the experience. When I pop in this disc, I'm going to wait for stuff I don't want to do. Like, if you notice in the Xbox Series X, before I get to play the campaign of Halo Infinite, I got to check in with logins. And that blocks me from getting to the campaign. I have to check in online. I have to. I didn't say I wanted to do that. I don't want to do that. I have no interest in doing that. I want to play the campaign. And I have to do all this junk. And this old console, this old junk of bones right here, the old ball and chain, okay, is playing a 20-year-old game, 24-year-old game off of a disc faster than something that's pre-installed. Because yes, I put in the disc, but I didn't even tax this test with the idea that I had to update and install the game. If you'll notice, I just didn't, I gave it that win. So the game's already pre-installed. It's playing off of an SSD. It's just the games themselves are optimized and for not forgetting the experience of people playing the game. Let me play my game. That's the point. This is why I say, personally, cartridges are a better experience. When I put in the N64 cartridge, from a mainstream perspective, like from your parents' perspective, someone who doesn't play games that often, it's so easy to understand. Take in the cart, you put it in, you turn the on switch, you're playing, boom. This, I boot it up, I look for the game, where's the, oh, this is my games and apps app, okay, I go in there, I scroll, where's my library? Same thing with PlayStation 5, although I think PlayStation 5 is a better experience. But the point is really, it's not as intuitive as a cart. You can't go backwards. You can't create a feature and then go backwards. If you want to do the installed process, sure, but like it should be lightning. Let's be real. For me to get into Halo Infinite's campaign in 2025 or 2024 when I recorded this, it should be faster than trying to read off a disk. It just using a hard drive. Come on, that's the point of the test. Like I said, there was folks complaining still to this day, like, why would you not compare Halo CE running on Xbox and Xbox Series X? Like, brother, I don't have to. I'll tell you right now. Like, the Series X will win. Like, I don't understand why you want that test. If you want that test, like, I'm assuming that's just some weird console stuff that you got that dog in you. It's a stupid test. Now, this is a really cool picture. That's a really cool picture. That's really cool that picture's there. I like that the creator put that in there. Well, that's depressing, but you might not be convinced. So I repeated this same exact test with the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 2. On the PS2, I'm going to play Ratchet & Clank Going Commando. And on the PlayStation 5, I'll try Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. So this test was really interesting because even with 4K graphics, Insomniac somehow loaded Ratchet on the PS5 in almost half the time. But unfortunately... And yet, these comments missed this part. Sony does it right. In this case, with the Ratchet and Clank test, this is what should happen. It should be faster. This is, again, one of the many things that I think PlayStation does better than Xbox. They think about the experience. Microsoft doesn't. PlayStation is in their own weird spot right now, but PlayStation really does think about the experience. If we took like how they've integrated the PlayStation 5, okay? When you look at Microsoft and how they look at their consoles, they look at you as a number. You're a monthly active user. That's what you are. And when you think about people that way, you just think about they logged in. You became a monthly active user. You logged in. Sony's thinking about the experience for the most part. And in this test, you can see that. When you play this new game that looks 1,000 times better, has way more detail, it will load dramatically faster than it did on the older hardware. Microsoft does not care. That's the problem.
Unfortunately, what you don't know is both of these consoles needed their games to be pre-installed ahead of time just so they could compete. Now remember, each of these consoles is playing a game that's pushing their hardware to the limit, but only the previous generations actually let me play the games immediately, and I don't even want to imagine what would happen if these newer consoles weren't connected to the internet. Like, these things have way more power, they have way faster hard drive speeds, and yet I can just play games faster over there. Because, you see, in the 9th generation, the games are worse, the play experience is worse, and in the Xbox Series X's case, it barely tries to do anything to trigger any form of nostalgia. I mean, who's launching the Xbox Series X 10 years from now being like,
oh man, the Jurassic World Dominion ad on the front dashboard that I paid 600 Canadian dollars for, and a subscription to Game Pass and Xbox Live, that's when gaming truly peaked. Ah, yeah. The nostalgia.
So, dude, shout out Toon Goose, dude. Toon Goose is a W. Not enough people put respect on Toon Goose, dude. Toon Goose is a walking W. Let's bring back Toon Goose. Also, this, like, not enough people, I think, focused on this. 10 years from now, you're going to be nostalgic for the PS6. No one's going to be nostalgic for the Series X. No one. And then if there was something lower than no one, that would be for the Series S. No one cares about those consoles in a emotional way that they did for the Gen 6, Gen 5, any of the Gen 7, of course, even Gen 8. Gen 9 is going to have a real problem. Well, Microsoft. Sony, I think people will remember the weird things that they chose, and whether you like it or not, you know, it's an acquired taste.
Here's the question. If the modern gaming experience boils down to a list of games that are slightly better versions of the previous generation's games that constantly require downloading and or updating, then why not just play games on the PC where the games look and run so much better and I can actually do something else while I...
That's us! That's one of the OG Goose Morning Lives! Oh, look at us. Look at us. We got AIX in here. Alex123. The Bogster. Victoria is a king. Or Victor is a king. I always mess up his name. I apologize, Victor. Dude, man, we've grown so far. Crazy.
I wait for my game to download. The truth is, most people wouldn't, which is exactly why we're seeing a dramatic surge in the popularity for PC gaming instead of console gaming that was traditionally always the place to play games first. But there's actually one more reason why people are moving to PC away from the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X.
Actually, don't even remember this.
It has to do with the way that these consoles treat people. You see, when it comes to video game consoles, there's actually two different eras of communication. The offline era, where you actually had to visit your friends, hang out, bring over a giant CRT TV, and the online era, where you have friends lists, parties, and wonderful messages awaiting you.
Every single person who watches your videos are fucking stupid.
I'm actually nostalgic for it. But somehow the Xbox Series X and PlayStation...
Except for Counter-Strike. We all found out how that went. Those people are built different.
PlayStation 5 online community feels like an absolute ghost town where there's technically millions of people playing, but no one ever talks.
Y'all feeling a good sense of community?
Oh, Bravo is off.
Taking these zones, look closer to your fellow man, fellow Spartan.
Yeah.
Your team.
I love it.
So, let's go back to 2007 to see just what the heck happened here.
Dude, shout out.
It's
shout
2007, and for some reason we talk like this. Broken, weird, Canadian, British accent. But that's just what 2007 was like. So, you want to play Halo 3 with your friends and your 360 hasn't red ringed. What are you to do? Well, first you need a microphone to communicate, and thankfully Microsoft graciously includes a pretty decent quality mic for the time with your Xbox 360. That means that anyone and everyone who has a 360 can communicate online right out the gate. So how do we go about communicating? Well, it is 2007, so communication software is... I'll be blunt, it's terrible. Skype is probably the best out there, but us Canadians, well, we were using MSN Messenger. Fortunately, we're in luck, because sure, the communication software may have...
Dude, it's so true, man. Oh my god. I forgot I put that in there. Oh my god, dude. MSN Messenger was the best, dude. MSN Messenger. I had such good memories of MSN Messenger. Like, everyone would do this thing where you'd pretend to be offline, right? You get home first, you pretend to be offline, and when you see that person you wanted to talk to, right, with a friend or a girl you wanted to talk to, it's just like you go online, just I'm on. Here is notification. I'm here. Oh man, dude, MSN Messenger, man, what a vibe.
Have been total garbage.
Yeah. Skype in call.
But the software in these consoles were actually magnificent. You see, it had friends lists, a private party system that worked across any game, and like I mentioned before, some of the most wonderful voice messages you could have ever hoped for.
Oh, if I ever see you, I'm gonna fucking your face wide open, yeah?
Like I said, 2007 was a different time. But what about the game itself? How did we communicate with the others? You see, by default, Halo and every other multiplayer game let anyone with a microphone communicate openly. Lobbies were active,
it was a community,
parties were well indicated on screen with an icon, and proximity chat was always turned on by default.
You don't need communication.
That's how you win.
Push.
You don't need
Just
communication.
push.
Mind blowing, I know. Every single person you played with could be spoken to just like if we were playing sports in person. It was truly a community. But now let us forward back to the present day to see what the new consoles can do.
Oh god. It's just depressing to
Okay,
think
so
of
it's
that.
2024 and the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X have a few small differences. Despite being more expensive, the consoles no longer come with microphones.
Next generation gaming!
Heard that clip 1,000 times.
Sony technically provides one embedded in the controller itself, to be fair, but unless you play like a complete psychopath, it's probably not going to gain mass adoption.
Isn't it great that we can just talk right through this controller's mic?
If I ever see you, I'm gonna
You don't do that. That's weird. Next comes the
weird,
communication software,
Don't
and
do it.
it's pretty much the same
You're
as
nasty.
before. But while this sounds great on paper, it's actually pretty bad given that it's been over 15 years.
You see, something small you guys probably don't notice, but like for some reason when you put red text on like a very small font, like the one I'm using here, which I like this font because it's minimal, the red text for some reason just gets blurry. It just doesn't, I don't know, when it goes uploads through YouTube, it didn't look nice, which is a shame because I want to keep the red because it's my brand colors, but it's just a weird thing that you probably no one notices, but it's still driving me nuts even almost a year later.
Companies like Discord have streamlined the way players communicate, and the consoles really haven't tried to keep up. The only innovation I could think of was that the consoles did technically add Discord integration, but in fairness, using Discord on a PC or a phone still feels infinitely better than the watered down version we get on the Xbox Series X or PlayStation 5.
It's true.
Like I just use my phone. Or you know what I probably do is I just go on the PC instead. But okay, what about the games?
not wrong.
How are they handling communication 15 years later? Well, let's use Halo again as an example to showcase the 15 years of innovation. And the reason I use Halo is because, quite frankly, Halo 2 and Halo 3 were revolutionary for really promoting communication within games. Each of these games kind of pushed things forward. Proximity chat,
Done fucking talking, dude.
on the pit
I'm
game,
done
dude,
talking,
on the
dude.
pit.
pre and post game lobbies, that all kind of
Classic
stemmed
Halo.
from the Halos.
Me, he's like, dude, it's like 5 a.m. where you are. Go to sleep. And I just replied with Halo 3.
It
Yo,
no longer
facts.
has pre and post game lobbies and hasn't for over a decade. It no longer has proximity chat. It does, however, support text chat between console and PC crossplay. So that's cool. But they
What? Dude, why you add text chat and then block everyone from talking to the other team? What is with these gaming companies and full-on censorship? Here's a thought. When you launch the game, do you want to play open or closed? Make it a choice. I like playing with other people and talking to the other team. It's fun. Sometimes you get some crazy things. Yeah, sometimes you get some rude boy. I mean, we played Counter-Strike last week and we got a lot of rude boys. But whatever, dude. It's fine. Let me choose. Like, don't force me to never talk to people ever again. It's so ridiculous. Yeah, as a software developer, the one of the first core lessons you learn as a software developer is never take away choice. You always give a choice. You can make the default beginner path, but always add an advanced mode for people to make the choice if they so choose, the power users. For the main demographic, you set the settings to offer the best experience. For the ones who don't want that experience, the power users, you always give them options to make the choice. You never take away that stuff. Moderation, look, you don't need moderation. People are adults. They'll do it. Like, it makes sense the way it is if that's the default. Sure, I get that. The kids are playing Halo. I get that. That's fine. But if I want to go in the settings and turn that on, I'm saying I don't need moderation. I'm fine. I can see this stuff. It doesn't bother me. Let me do it. Like, let me be the judge of what I can take. Who are you to tell me that I can't take this? Then you have to have the conversation of just like, what am I doing to the community? Because when you take the thing where, like, for instance, on the Xbox Series X, Xbox One, and even PlayStation 5 has the mic built into the controller, but when you take away the microphone from the console, which the 360 included a mic, and that was huge. When you take that away, you effectively say the default is no talking. And so you've increased the barrier to entry for people to want to talk. Now, when you have a PC, that barrier to entry, it's implied you have a mic. It's a PC. Like, you're going to be working at your PC, you're going to be on call. There's a high probability you have a mic. On consoles, there's a very low probability you don't have a mic, that you have a mic. And so the experience is tarnished in a way. And so you got to be able to work with that, because a lot of the fun of these games, there's a lot of people who met some good friends of theirs. There's a lot of people who got married through these games, through World of Warcraft, through, Halo 3. Like, a lot of people meet each other through this stuff, right? And you just deleted that. You've made that effectively almost impossible to happen. And that's a shame. It wouldn't be a problem if you could actually behave. Look, I think you're right in one aspect, Knightley, but on the other hand, like, there's a famous story, right, about the story of the scorpion and the frog. I bring this up a lot with my friends, but like, there's a famous story about the scorpion and the frog, where like the frog is about to cross a river and the scorpion wants to cross the river. So the scorpion says to the frog, "Hey, I want to cross the river. Can you give me a ride?" And the frog says to the scorpion, "I'm not going to give you a ride. You're a scorpion." The scorpion goes, "What do you mean?" And the frog goes, "Well, you're a scorpion. You have a stinger. All you're going to do is sting me. You're a scorpion." And the scorpion says, "I would never do that, because if I stung you, then we would both drown. So there was no reason for me to do that." And so the frog goes, "I guess that makes sense. Let me just put you on my back and we'll go across the river. That makes total sense. Okay, let's do it." And so the frog takes the scorpion on his back across the river. And they get halfway through the river when suddenly the scorpion stings the frog. And the frog, now in pain and slowly drowning, looks to the scorpion and says, "Why would you do that? Now we're both going to drown. Why would you do that?" And the scorpion says, "I'm a scorpion." And that's the point of the online functionality. There are scorpions. They'll never go away. Ever. So why would you, because of 1% of the community, why would you ban the feature entirely? There will always be scorpions. The lesson isn't ban all scorpions. The lesson is learn to deal with the scorpions. Acknowledge what's a scorpion. Don't play with them. That's it. Just mute that one person in the game. Make it very simple. But there'll always be scorpions. It's just a fact. To assume otherwise is crazy. So you have to live your life assuming there'll be scorpions, spot them, and then learn how to deal with them, rather than let the developers take that control away from you. Because there's a lot of lessons being learned by dealing with scorpions. As horrible as it is, some scorpions are going to treat you in ways that scorpions only can, and you're going to learn a valuable lesson, and you'll never make that mistake again. It's a really interesting discussion. It's probably too big for this video, but yeah, I just don't think devs should take away that response. Like, just, you offer choice. Let people do it. They completely block all forms of written or spoken communication with the enemy team entirely. And unfortunately, every game seems to have seen that and decided that rather than figure out a system that works for different communication styles, it's just easier to block everything completely so no one gets hurt.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
It's as if you played a game of basketball outside, but no one was allowed to talk to each other, and the only way you could talk to your team was to stop, pick up your phone, and then text them before someone hit you in the face with a basketball. And that sounds like a weird analogy, but it's like legitimately true. Sure, I guess technically no one has a chance for harassment in that case.
What did you say, punk?
But it kind of loses a lot of the humanity in the process, don't you think? Look, I love video game consoles, their reveals, their launches, and what they do for the industry.
Some form of connectivity is called Xbox 360. Right. So stick with 360, that's your message?
Each one defined a specific part of my life, and I'm pretty sure it did for you guys too. But the honest truth is that the 9th generation consoles are just overpriced, poor gaming experiences where the games are held back by less capable machines, corporate greed, and a censored online environment in a world where if I spend a couple extra $100, I get all of that and more on a PC. The market is basically being forced to go elsewhere.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid if these problems continue, video game consoles we know and love will die slowly in a wasteland as nothing but a memory.
Yeah, it's happening with Microsoft, unfortunately.
Except, I don't think they have to.
It's a PS2!
Because the magic of what made video game consoles so special to everyone never truly left. It's always been there, just waiting for someone, anyone, to bring it back.
4, 3, 2, 1,
To bring back games that aren't afraid to push the industry forward.
I am your shield. I am your sword.
To bring back experiences we'll never forget. And to put players first as a community anyone can play in.
Am I here?
If you haven't left yet, I would advise that you sprint.
Xbox 360!
For the PlayStation 2.
And it's on.
It's just one big social gathering, uniting people all over the world for, love of games.
Are you excited? I am now. Like I wasn't before, but like seeing this.
I hope you enjoyed the video. You're beautiful, you're goose-tastic, and as always, keep it cute.
Hey, can anyone hear me?
Stop talking through the controller. You're an absolute psychopath, and I despise you.
Dang, dude. Dang. I hit myself with that. The feels. Man, I hadn't seen that in a while. That's crazy. Dude. And that's kind of the stuff that I talk about, like with Microsoft going third party and all that stuff. It just, there's something special about opening a console, dude. And do I wish more people get to play the games? Yeah. But something special about that, and I just hope we don't lose it. Hope we don't lose it, because that's a pretty cool thing. Made a lot of people happy. So we'll see. Crazy video. Hopefully that guy does well. He's at 82,000 subscribers. Crazy. Crazy. Fun fact, when I made that video, I probably cried like 17 billion times making that video. Teared up, got me every single time. I was wondering if it would get me on stream. Definitely had some feels. But yeah, it's kind of the big bummer when people do react streams to that video is they AI audio out the mic, they use AI to remove the audio because of copyright, But like, I always look forward to that point because I just want to see how they react to that, and it's always ruined. So thankfully, because it's my content, I can just watch it, and it was cool to watch it with you guys. Honestly, that was a really cool thing. I think maybe we'll watch more of my content together. I think that's fun. And also, it's like a nice refresher to see what I did well and what I didn't do well, and then I can share some behind the scenes with you guys. I think the 9th generation's in a weird spot. I don't know if it's gonna get better, but I hope someone looks at the things that I brought forward in there, and I hope someone brings in real competition. I think that will be a giant win for us. I personally want another console manufacturer. I think a 4th console maker would be huge. Someone just stirred the pot. And yeah, I look forward to see more from this creator. I think he's got some cool stuff. I just wish he'd make content faster, dude. What's he doing, dude? Dude's lazy.